The following is a paid program brought to you by Wholetones, Inc. Music touches our soul. Music is the language that communicates with humanity. Music speaks to our hearts. Think about it. The soundtrack to a movie creates your mood, moves you. Throughout history, music has had the power to change us spiritually and physically. And as Longfellow pointed out, music is the universal language of mankind. Renowned musician, author, and speaker Michael S. Tyrrell has already reached top 10 rankings on the Billboard charts with Wholetones. Michael now reveals his stunning discovery in therapeutic music with 7 inspiring compositions using musical tones found to relieve stress, promote healing, break negative cycles, and help restore sound sleep. All of this with the Healing Frequency Music Project, known collectively as Wholetones.
Wholetones just gives me that feeling of peace, serenity, calmness.
It's brought a peace and a joy at the depth of my spirit that I just can't explain.
All of the different songs have a different hertz level.
Different songs evoke different emotions at different times, but I thoroughly enjoy it.
Because it changes you mentally, physically, and spiritually.
I just knew there was something really special.
It brought a sense of peace and at the same time a sense of openness.
In fact, a recent study has revealed some impressive findings. Chronic pain and other painful conditions are reduced by up to 21%. Depression by 25%. A summary of 400 studies found that music improves the body's immune system function and reduces stress. Michael's story began with wondering why instruments are tuned to 440 Hz, which led him to uncover that Dr. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister under Hitler's reign, discovered that 440 Hz was used to allow easier manipulation and mind control. Michael then traveled to Jerusalem, where a man named David shared his life's work discovering the more pure frequencies of ancient times. This man's manuscript showed that instruments should be tuned higher than what we know as the modern musical tuning system. Suddenly, the light came on. Michael decided to experiment. These new frequencies are different. You too can experience Wholetones and these 7 healing frequencies that have a profound effect on humanity.
I've always been intoxicated by music. I knew that one day that I would be a musician. When I actually began to learn how to play the guitar, I remember going to a music store and watching a father and a son. The father was buying a guitar for his son, and the clerk asked him, "Would you like a chord book with that and a tuner?" It hit me, the tuner. Why is the tuner tuned to the frequency that it's tuned at? Who came up with that idea? And is there any science behind it? And I couldn't sleep after that day, and I just continued trying to figure out why somebody would have settled on this particular frequency choice of the note A equals 440 Hertz. So all of that led me to open my eyes to the fact that there's many tunings, but perhaps some that would have a much better ability to bring health to the body and to the soul, and help you when you're in a tough spot to find peace. And that was the beginning of what you know now as Wholetones, and what's changing people's lives around the world in over 80 nations is a simple idea that something old could change something that's going wrong now in our time frame. So here's a fellow musician that had an amazing response to Wholetones. Listen to what she has to say.
Music has been so important to me since the beginning. I played piano. I also followed my parents' footsteps and sang in choirs in school. And when I heard about Wholetones, I knew I needed to look into this. And as soon as it got home, I just put them all on, laid on my sofa and just listened. And it was just touched my soul in a way. It is beautiful, beautiful melodies wrapped around this frequency that just transcends you to another place. Wholetones has been instrumental, allowing me to just have a great start to the day, but a great end to the day. And it has allowed me to sleep through the night peacefully.
Here's a precious woman that believed in Wholetones so much that she saw how it could transform her home with people with special needs.
Music has always been a big part of my life. I took music lessons, I was in marching band, I was in pep band. So from a small child, I was always playing music. I have always been in the health and wellness industry. And the Wholetones, I was like, this makes sense. It just made sense. I do adult foster care. So I have vulnerable adults with mental illness that live in my home, and I take care of them. I can share this with my whole house, and it plays 24/7 at all times. And I have just noticed that the whole atmosphere of the house has just come together. Like less tension, more peace. If I had it my way, Wholetones would replace elevator music. It would be played in all hospitals, all group homes, nursing homes. It should be played everywhere. Wholetones just gives me that feeling of peace, serenity, calmness. It's a peace that surpasses all that God has given to us.
My name is Paul Zilka, and my wife and I actually are tonal chiropractors. So when we work on patients and adjust them, we actually put a vibratory frequency into the nervous system to help the body function and heal quicker the way God intended it to. My massage therapist, Steve, said, Paul, you got to listen to these Wholetones. It's a vibratory frequency, and all he had to do is say vibratory frequency, and I said, I'm in, just get them to me. And to this day, the 7 CD set is the only music that is played in our clinic. One other incident that just happened recently is I had a patient come in, and she's a professional musician, and I said, are you able to tune to 444 hertz? I didn't see her for 2 weeks, but when she came back after 2 weeks, she said, you know what? After I tuned it up to that, I found I love that frequency. I didn't feel as agitated, and I felt more calm. Wholetones has done a lot for me, but if I had to sum it up in one sentence, it's brought a peace and a joy at the depth of my spirit that I just can't explain.
And here's Tina, a writer, someone who was massively inspired by Wholetones to be able to create freely and to be inspired all of the time.
I discovered Wholetones about 2 years ago. I went up to the site, I listened to the demos, and was blown away. I listen to it mainly when I'm doing my creative writing because it allows me to focus like never before. I feel that I've reached layers in my writing and complexity that wasn't there before. I truly believe that Wholetones has helped me to get to that authenticity faster than I was ever able to before. The energy it gives me, the revitalization I've felt since I started using it. Getting started at any time, at any point in your life, is going to make your life so much more fulfilling, enjoyable. I can't say enough for how much Wholetones has meant to me and to my writing and my productivity.
Music touches our soul. Music is the language that communicates with humanity. Music speaks to our hearts. Think about it. The soundtrack to a movie creates your mood, moves you. Not only does music calm us, but soothes animals and lulls babies to sleep. Even in ancient times, the Greek physicians used instruments to help heal their patients. Throughout history, music has had the power to change us spiritually and physically. And as Longfellow pointed out, music is the universal language of mankind. Renowned musician, author, and speaker Michael S. Tyrrell has already reached top 10 rankings on the Billboard charts with Wholetones. Michael now reveals his stunning discovery in therapeutic music with 7 inspiring compositions, using musical tones found to relieve stress, promote healing, break negative cycles, and help restore sound sleep. All of this with the Healing Frequency Music Project, known collectively as Wholetones. Michael's story began with wondering why instruments are tuned to 440 hertz, which led him to uncover that Dr. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister under Hitler's reign, discovered that 440 hertz was used to allow easier manipulation and mind control. Michael then traveled to Jerusalem, where a man named David shared his life's work discovering the more pure frequencies of ancient times. This man's manuscript showed that instruments should be tuned higher than what we know as the modern musical tuning system. Suddenly, the light came on. Michael decided to experiment. These new frequencies are different, and chances are you've never heard them this way before. 7 healing frequencies that can bring transformation to people's lives. Go to wholetonesfree.com to listen to samples of each of the 7 incredible compositions absolutely free. Feel the power and peace that Wholetones can give you. Use the promo code for a very special limited time offer, plus Michael's incredible revealing Wholetones book, The Sound of Healing. A recent study has revealed some impressive findings. Chronic pain and other painful conditions are reduced by up to 21%. Depression by 25%. A summary of 400 studies found that music improves the body's immune system function and reduces stress. In fact, a recent study and anecdotal evidence from music therapists suggests that music can do many things, from help manage pain to an increase in productivity. You too can experience Wholetones and these 7 healing frequencies that have a profound effect on humanity. Michael only wants you to give it a try to see what it can do in your life.
I set off on a journey that has now been over 20 years to find out if there was a way to use frequencies positively. What is frequency? Let's say, for example, that I had a guitar in my hand right now and I just plucked one of the strings. If we could slow down the vibration of that string, you would see a sloping sine wave. It is vibration. How many times something vibrates is the frequency. Right now you're hearing my voice. My vocal cords are vibrating. You can't see that happening. Every organ, tissue, inanimate object has the ability to be vibrated by frequency, by sound. Your thoughts, frequencies. Every time you think about something, it's a frequency. You might ask the question, why do these frequencies matter? Because they have a very powerful effect on the human body, on the cellular level. Scientists tell us that. There was a UK-based study that showed that people suffering from chronic pain that listened to music found a 21% reduction in their pain. And in the same way, people suffering from debilitating depression found 25% reduction in their depression by listening to music. And that's when I started realizing how important it is that we understand frequency, how powerful this really was, and I had to get it to the place where I could find out how to create music that was infused with frequency.
Listen to what Jordan Rubin, founder of Garden Life Supplements and award-winning author, has to say about Wholetones.
I believe that Wholetones represents an innovative breakthrough, and no matter what diet you're on, no matter what supplement regimen, no matter what exercise program that you're undertaking, by adding Wholetones, you can lift your health to a new dimension. I wouldn't want to live another day without Wholetones, and I don't believe you should either.
Here's someone that suffered with depression for years, and her doctor told her about Wholetones.
I've been dealing with depression pretty much all my life. The medicine I was on, for 7 years, quit. And I went straight down, and it was really hard. You have to understand, when I hit rock bottom, they took me off this med that was hard to get off of. And the anxiety was so high, and my doctor told me, have you ever heard about Wholetones? This could really help you, Pam. So right then and there, I ordered it. I ordered it right away, and I put Wholetones on, and that anxiety was just slowly just going away. And I thought, this is great. This is really gonna work for me. And I had to go through pretty much hell to get off that drug that I was on for 7 years. And honestly, if it wasn't for Michael, I don't think I could have gotten through all those side effects. I'm so glad I got it. I'm so glad. Wholetones, for me, for my life, has brought me so much peace. So much peace. It makes me feel alive again. Totally alive, and I can be Pam again.
Here's a testimony from an extraordinary woman that I had the pleasure of meeting in Minnesota. Someone that can't hear like many of us can, but hears better than many of us do.
So I actually was born hearing, and I became deaf at the age of 2 from meningitis. Most of my family members don't sign. They only sign a little bit, so communication was always very difficult for me. It felt isolating, it was depressing. I felt like I was not a part of my family because I would always see them communicating with each other and having these exciting conversations, but I had no idea what they were talking about, and so that was very frustrating for me. Deaf people don't really have music in their life, so when I was growing up, I really didn't care about music. And then about 3 years ago, I started going to church. There was one woman, she sent me the book from Michael, and he explained the frequency and the music and all of that, and I read it and I just took it all in. I fell in love with it. And the church had a worship service. I was just watching the people worship and I was crying. It was so emotional. And then I felt like I started to understand God could touch me through music. I wanted to start to understand why God put music in our life. How does music heal us? What is with this frequency stuff? I just wanted to understand it more. I just feel like I have a connection with God. I feel like I can receive peace through that music and through what Michael's doing. It's so peaceful, it's exciting. The stress that I feel is completely removed from me. I know that God is here through this music. I know that He's here, He's with us, and I love that. So it's really amazing. I really feel like Wholetones has been a tool, and I think that it could be a tool to explain to deaf people what music is.
There's something about her connection with life, and something about Wholetones was able to help her understand what music really is.
I had friends when I was little, and we used to make up plays, and we always sang and we memorized songs, and until after I graduated from high school, I wanted to be a music teacher. About 6 months ago, I had an opportunity to lead a study in sound at our local house of prayer. So I had seen Wholetones. When I looked at Michael's story and I started doing a little research, that's when I was convinced. All of the different songs have a different hertz level, and they all affect us differently. The real convincing comes when I play the music. It is soothing. We play it in our house from the time we get up till the time we go to bed. I play it in the car when I'm driving to work. I play it at work. Wholetones for me is the beginning and end of my day. I am totally addicted to it. Anyone who has had challenges in their life, whether it be physical or mental, I think would benefit from this. Just the music, the soothing, it's so soothing. I suggest it for everybody.
For many years, my wife and I had a little farm where we raised our own livestock, organic meat, and I was doing a good job to the best of my ability for myself and my family, and discovered one day that I saw one drop of blood in my urine. Called my physician and said, I've got a problem. He said, you need to go to a urologist, you need to have some tests taken. He looked at me and I said, I'm ready for it, give it to me. He said, you've got a tumor in your bladder and you've got to have it removed as soon as possible. Had the tumor removed successfully and learned that I had to change my lifestyle. So I began a journey learning more about organic food and working in a cleaner environment. Someone had written something about Michael's whole tone frequency healing. I decided to just step out in faith and buy the series of CDs. I discovered that they give me such peaceful sleep. I call it my angelic sleep. I awaken fresh in the morning, and I like to keep sound on while I'm making a cup of coffee or while I'm eating my lunch. I'm being fed spiritually with the Wholetones frequencies, which I believe that the frequencies ministers to my soul, and it's peaceful, heavenly rest. The Wholetones project has given me a level of peace that I didn't understand before, in rest, in security, and in energy.
There's something about it that is different. It's compelling. I felt excited, I felt whole, I felt calm, I felt happy. So I really enjoyed listening to it. It made me feel good. So I really believe that good things can happen for you.
Sound, smells, the whole limbic connection to things. Music is the most powerful vehicle of all of them. One song can bring you back to your high school dance or to your first years of life. It's made up of so many little sound bites of things that you've listened to, elevator music, even FM radio, that creates this playlist that you live your life by. Music is the most powerful force in the world, and if it's infused with something just as powerful, you can only imagine the effect that it can have. Hospitals and prisons are playing music on a regular basis for very important reasons. In hospitals, their healing is sped up exponentially. And also in prisons, they play music on a regular basis because it has a behavioral component. It works against aggression and it resolves conflicts. We believe that historically 444 Hertz was more than likely the key that David tuned his 10-string kinnor to. History tells us that when David played his 10-string kinnor in King Saul's court, and this soothing music would pour out of it, and suddenly King Saul was a different person. I have to believe that if you listen to the key of David, 444 Hertz in your own living room, after a hard day at work with your frazzled nerves, that you're going to experience the same soothing music that King Saul did. It's funny how many times we rediscover things that were very prevalent during one period of time but lost over centuries. That's pretty much the case with Wholetones. These frequencies aren't new by any stretch of the imagination. They're actually ancient. 7 solfeggi tones that were prevalent in the early church, probably just prior to 313 AD. The most exciting thing is when you unearth a treasure. That's how it was for me to discover Wholetones, and I hope that you are also that excited as you begin to unravel the secrets that have been lost for literally thousands of years. Overall, I think the most important thing about Wholetones is the fact that it can help you deal with stress. If there's ever been a time in history where people need to feel peace, it's now. So it's my hope that people will find peace listening to Wholetones music.
A neighbor told me about the music, knows a little bit about me. I ordered them, I played it, and I went, oh, this music woke me up with a passion. It wasn't just, oh wow, this feels good, but this had some power to it. This had some real wisdom and tenacity in music that has brought in, for all of us, I think, the true memory of how to be resonantly attuned to the greater forms of creation. Wholetones for me is me being given the frequencies of our Creator right here, right now. I'm not lost, I'm home.
Music has been important to me for quite a while. As I grew and changed spiritually, the music changed. Worship changed, praise changed. Michael's music has really become important to me since probably January of this year. I had a friend who did a teaching on frequency and used part of Michael's teaching. Looked into it, read his book, very fascinated with his story. You get to the history of what the 444 does and how you tune your instruments, it changes everything. And then I played the music, just changed me totally, like changed me. I put it in the car in rush hour traffic, peace, keeps me calm, gives me peace. I know that there's healing taking place within my body. In my mind, it just has calmed, started from the top and worked its way down. I say you need to try it for yourself, and you need to stick with it because it changes you mentally, physically, and spiritually.
My father taught me how to dance when I was very young, and it really stuck with me. The whole movement and being able to express yourself in the music and with the music, I loved it. I see music as a pretty sacred event that people can do together, and we all have a voice, and our voice can be heard as a collective. I was camping, and then I met a person who was playing the flute in the woods. It was so beautiful, and I welcomed her into the camp, and it was at that point that I realized I had to learn how to play that instrument. And then I did a lot of research online about different frequencies, and then I came upon Wholetones. And then it was just so beautiful. It brought a sense of peace and at the same time a sense of openness and inclusiveness. And I just thought, wow, more people need to hear this music. Wholetones is very soothing to my soul. Wholetones helps me to focus on spirit and hear the spirit in the music. There's a healing quality to it that emanates and is emanating through my being, and it hits upon my heart, and it feels wonderful.
Music touches our soul. Music is the language that communicates with humanity. Music speaks to our hearts. Think about it. The soundtrack to a movie creates your mood, moves you. Not only does music calm us, but soothes animals and lulls babies to sleep. Even in ancient times, the Greek physicians used instruments to help heal their patients. Throughout history, music has had the power to change us spiritually and physically. And as Longfellow pointed out, music is the universal language of mankind. Renowned musician, author, and speaker Michael S. Tyrrell has already reached top 10 rankings on the Billboard charts with Wholetones. Michael now reveals his stunning discovery in therapeutic music with 7 inspiring compositions, using musical tones found to relieve stress, promote healing, break negative cycles, and help restore sound sleep. All of this with the Healing Frequency Music Project, known collectively as Wholetones. Michael's story began with wondering why instruments are tuned to 440 Hz, which led him to uncover that Dr. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister under Hitler's reign, discovered that 440 Hz was used to allow easier manipulation and mind control. Michael then traveled to Jerusalem, where a man named David shared his life's work discovering the more pure frequencies of ancient times. This man's manuscript showed that instruments should be tuned higher than what we know as the modern musical tuning system. Suddenly, the light came on. Michael decided to experiment. These new frequencies are different, and chances are you've never heard them this way before. 7 healing frequencies that can bring transformation to people's lives. Go to wholetonesfree.com to listen to samples of each of the 7 incredible compositions absolutely free. Feel the power and peace that Wholetones can give you. Use the promo code for a very special limited time offer, plus Michael's incredible revealing Wholetones book, The Sound of Healing. A recent study has revealed some impressive findings. Chronic pain and other painful conditions are reduced by up to 21%. Depression by 25%. A summary of 400 studies found that music improves the body's immune system function and reduces stress. In fact, a recent study and anecdotal evidence from music therapists suggests that music can do many things, from help manage pain to an increase in productivity. You too can experience Wholetones and these 7 healing frequencies that have a profound effect on humanity. Michael only wants you to give it a try to see what it can do in your life. The preceding has been a paid program brought to you by Wholetones, Inc.